Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala sayyidil mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in amma ba'd. Today I'm here to present on the very topic Dhikr of Allah, Dhikrullah and its psychological benefits. This presentation is a part of our course completion in the course IKI Islamic Psychology, and it's prepared for Dr. Felicia Khin. So, first of all, I'd like to thank the professor for letting me shoot this video. So, as the title mentions, it's about dhikrullah, remembrance of Allah, and its psychological effects and benefits in our life. So, let's jump in. First of all, I would like to mention and to bring in your mind the very strong hadith, strong ayat of the Quran. Ala bi dhikrillahi tatma'innul qulub. Verily, in the remembrance of Allah, do hearts find rest or peace. Surah Ra'd 28. This verse is a strong verse, suggests that all our heart disease or all our peace of our heart rely on and get the rest in the remembrance of Allah. When you remember Allah, our heart find peace. And before that, I would like to mention the connection of this course to this point of view or to this subject, the dhikrullah and the Islamic psychology. So Islamic psychology traces back a long history to the long history of Islam, to the golden age. I would like to say that famous scholars like Imam al-Razi and also Ibn Sina, who deliberately dissected on this topic very deeply in their books, in their works on the very topic of ilmun nafs. So it was early known as ilmun nafs, and it has a very strong history, a long history. So uh, coming up to the relevance of these topics in today's life, in modern life, is that today a lot of people face depression, anxiety, stress, and burnout due to their workload or their family matters. So, where do we get the psychological healing of our souls, of our body, of our mental health? Is totally depend on who we are, where from which perspective we are asking. If we are Muslim, then definitely our Islamic psychology and Islamic perspective gives us a very clear idea that in the remembrance of Allah, we find peace, we find rest of our heart. So whenever uh, we find anxiety, we should back to the Quran. We should back to the healing of the Quran. Should back to the healing of Islamic psychology. And in today's world, I would like to mention that there are a lot of new technology and technological development has been evolved in this field, and there are a lot of clinics opened up for the people for the psychological benefits of the people in Saudi Arabia and even in the US also. There are a lot of Islamic psychological clinics opened up. Okay, now coming back to our topic, the first thing, that's modern psychological crisis. I would like to mention that the the crisis we are facing is the total technological disconnection. In today's world, we are totally engaged with our technology, with our phones, tabs, laptops, and internet. So that's our technological growth has disconnected modern man from the spirituality. So it's a true fact. We are seeing this. We are experience this. We are experiencing this. The rush for the material success create inner voids, leading to the widespread anxiety, stress, and emotional unrest, as I mentioned. Next, the global mental health crisis. According to the WHO it reports over that 8 lakh annual suicides happens due to the mental suffering, due to the mental illness, due to the mental anxiety, stress, emotional unrest. So this also a cause for that the many suffer for the spiritual emptiness, insecurity, and lack of deeper purpose in life. So that's the main cause of this. Now, Islamic solution. So what Islam like to give as a solution, as a remedy? Islam offers zikr as a timeless spiritual remedy. Amidst the worldly distraction, zikr will help us to realign our soul with divine purpose and peace. Now, understanding the dhikr, the remembrance. So the definition of dhikr, as I mentioned, means remembering Allah with heart, mind, and body. So I would like to mention a few points here. So our mind and our heart and our body means our body parts should align when we uh, come to the dhikr point, when to come to the remembrance of Allah. So uh, I see a lot of people, they're just blabbering the uh, Arabic terms like Subhanallah, 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 or zikr, or Arabic zikr, but in their heart or in their mind, they're not self conscious that they are performing a zikr, they are performing a remembrance of Allah. This is an act of ibadah, this is an act of worship. At the same time, I saw them that they are uttering the zikr, subhanallah, 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 like that, or tasbih. At the same time, they're watching reels or they're watching on their phone. So their mind is distracted. At the same time, they're performing zikr. So it's a totally, it's not a zikr, it's not a true zikr. Now, the Quranic significance, and this word dhikr comes and appears over 290 times in the Quran. So by this we can find that the emphasis, the seriousness, the significance of zikr in our life. Okay. The spiritual essence and purpose of zikr. So what's the spiritual essence and purpose of zikr? So zikr at first it gives us and is awaken our soul in a spiritual consciousness. And second, the emotional balance. It creates a serenity and joy in our heart. After zikr, we can find a kind of enjoyment that we find. And the spiritual growth. It gives us motives. It gives us it motivates us to do something, to work nicely, or to perform very well. Okay, Dhikr purify hearts and awakens spiritual consciousness, as I mentioned. And at the same time, Dhikr generates serenity, humility, and joy in your heart. And as we know in Islamic philosophy or Islamic studies, we find that nafs, our soul, has three types of souls. It's three types of soul in Islam. That's first is nafsul lawama, then al-mutma'inna, and at the last it has the nafsul ammara. So as in Quran it mentioned al-nafsu ammaratun bisu, and but what we need to be is that we need to be that soul. Our soul needs to be nafsul mutma'inna, the spiritual awakened soul, the tranquil soul, the peaceful soul. Moving on to the next. So, Quranic foundation, as I mentioned, over 290 times it mentioned in the Quran. So, it's a divine purpose. So, as Allah says, so remember me, I will remember you. So, it's a very perfect thing to remember Allah. At the same time, He will remember us. Indeed, in the remembrance of Allah, the two hearts find rest, as I mentioned before. So it's for the heart healing, it's for the heart rest, it's for the heart peace, and the frequent remembrance. So, as we Muslims, we should remember Allah as much as possible. Now, dhikr as a psychological therapy. So it gives us a psychological therapy as as we see the lot of therapists gives us some things to do, to perform, to act on, like stretching out, or like in yoga, or a yogist or a yoga therapist, he will suggest us to do yoga on a daily basis or like this. So at the same time, we find in Islamic world that lot of people, the lot of Sufis or mutasawwif, they prefer to give some dhikr or awrad uh, on daily basis to purify or to get an emotional attach. So spiritual psychotherapy. So at the same time, we find that dhikr has a high power level of spiritual psychotherapy. Like scholars Imam Hawari equate it as a superior psychiatric intervention, calming inner distress. So by dhikr on daily basis, we can find calmness of our heart. And emotional balance. It soothes depression, anxiety, emotional imbalance. Zikr balance hormones, improve emotional regulation, and offer clarity in stress. The spiritual resilience. It promotes spiritual resilience. I mean, Zikr promotes spiritual resilience. Zikr aligns thought and emotion at the same time with divine truth, giving strength to endure hardships. Now, emotional behavior benefits. So we know that we have an emotional intelligence. It enhance emotional intelligence. I mean, they can enhance our emotional intelligence, focusing on the breathing and mental centering during the dhikr, supports control emotional stress. Now, constant practice. Dhikr should be did or should be done by daily basis, or constantly. Like in Surah Nisa, Allah says, remember Allah while standing, sitting, and laying down. I mean, laying on the bed, or something else. So this means we should remember Allah as much as possible, as frequent as we can. Now, true dhikr and hollow repetition, as I mentioned before. So there are a lot of people I see and I observed in our society that they perform dhikr at the same time they are busy with their worldly things. Like they're distracted from the true purpose of dhikr. True purpose of dhikr is to align our heart at the same time align our mind with the spiritual realm, with the spiritual realm of Allah, in the remembrance of Allah. But it's a sad story that a lot of people in today's life they're going walking at the same time they're making dhikr, but in their mind something else is running there. So inner dhikr involvement. Dhikr must involve our qalb. So our qalb should be in there while we are uttering the words of dhikr. And spiritual food. So real dhikr leads to the gratitude and patience. Its fruits include trust in Allah, when tawakkul, وَمَن يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ, and the distance from sin. Now, scientific and clinical evidence. So it gives us the stress reduction, pain management, and emotional health, and immune function, mental clarity. So it has its benefits in the way that's totally spiritual and also psychological. Now, as a conclusion, what I have to say, the dhikr is the path to the peace of inner peace, I would like to say. So divine connection, dhikr gives us reconnects human to their true source of Allah. And spiritual transformation, it builds faith, hope, and surrender to the Allah, and accessible worship. So it can be done whenever we wish. Whenever we wish to remember Allah, we can do it. Simple, it is a simple and a powerful worship. As we know in a hadith that a subhanallah is more dearer to Allah like Subhanallah wa bihamdihi Subhanallah al-Azim is most dearest dhikr to Allah. So now, as for now, I'm signing off, and this is it. So, is there any comment? Let me know. And thanks for watching. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.